The desert stretched endlessly, golden sands rolling like waves under a burning sun. The wind carried fine dust that scratched Kale's skin and stung his eyes, but he did not slow down. Every day he searched this barren world for anything of value. Few dared the desert alone, but Kyle had learned its rules. He could read the shifting dunes, sense hidden caves, and spot glimmers of metal buried under the sand. Today, he felt a thrill in his chest, a pull toward something unusual. Kale had always been curious, more than careful. He was not a soldier, nor a wealthy explorer. He was a scavenger, and the desert had taught him patience, cleverness, and courage. With each step, he scanned the horizon with his visor, noting the patterns of shadows and light. Something ahead caught his attention, a dark shape, partially buried, unlike any natural formation. As Kale approached, his heart quickened. The object was massive, with smooth curves and panels that reflected the sun in dull silvers and blues. It looked like a ship, but no ship he had ever seen. The edges were jagged, corroded, and cracked as if it had been here for decades. The sand had swallowed most of its lower body, leaving only a large, dome-like top visible. "Interesting," Kyle muttered, brushing dust from his visor. He circled the wreck, careful not to touch anything yet. Every scavenger knew the danger of alien tech. It could be valuable, yes, but also unpredictable. Most people would have left it, calling it a useless relic. But Kale had always believed that curiosity paid more than fear. He knelt beside a panel, brushing away years of sand. Strange markings covered the surface, etched in patterns that pulsed faintly when the sun's rays touched them. Kale traced the lines with a finger, feeling warmth radiate where his hand met the metal. "That's alive," he whispered, his voice barely rising above the wind. It was then that a faint tone rang out. Not loud, not harsh, but musical, almost like a soft hum. Kale froze. The sound seemed to respond to him, changing when he moved his hand. His heart raced. "Hello?" he said, half in disbelief. The wind swirled around him, carrying the dust in thin spirals. The tone responded, a rising chord that made the sand shiver under its vibration. Kyle's mind raced. He had never seen anything like this. Some instinct told him the ship was not broken. It was sleeping, waiting, perhaps even choosing to respond. He took a cautious step closer, his fingers hovering over the panel. The hum changed again, almost like a voice trying to speak but unable to form words. He felt a strange connection, as if the ship was listening to his thoughts, not just his voice. Kyle's curiosity turned to excitement. He had heard tales of ancient alien ships buried across the galaxy, but most were myths. He had never imagined he would find one here, in the endless sands of this forgotten planet. Kale spent the next hour circling the wreck, testing it carefully. He spoke simple phrases, asking the ship's name, the reason it had crashed, anything he could think of. Each time the ship responded, not with words, but with tones, lights, and subtle movements of its panels. It was alive in some way, though not like any living creature Kale knew. He sat back on the sand, exhausted, but exhilarated. I think you're listening to me," he said. "I don't know what you are, but I want to understand." The ship pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat. Kyle smiled despite the heat and fatigue. For the first time in weeks, he felt truly alive. This was more than a scavenging trip. This was discovery. Suddenly, a shadow fell across him. Kyle looked up to see another scavenger, a tall man with sun-bleached clothes and a rusty blaster. He was followed by two others, all eyeing the wreck with greed in their eyes. "Well, well," the man said, his voice harsh and mocking. "Look what we have here. The famous Kale, playing with toys again. You really think that thing is worth anything?" Kale stood slowly, keeping his hands visible. "I don't know yet," he replied. But I'm going to find out." The man laughed. "You humans and your curiosity, always poking at things you don't understand. This thing is dead like all the others. You're wasting your time." Kale's heart pounded, but he did not back down. He had faced worse than scavengers before. "I'll take my chances," he said firmly. The scavengers sneered and left, muttering threats, but Kale knew he could not linger in the open for long. He had to secure the ship. Over the next few hours, he worked tirelessly, clearing sand from the panels and examining the strange inscriptions. He found a hatch on the side and, with careful effort, pried it open. Inside was darkness, but hints of glowing lights pulsed faintly along the walls. Kyle swallowed his fear. He had entered alien ships before, yes, but nothing like this. The air inside was clean, almost breathable, though tinged with a metallic scent. Panels lined the walls, some flickering with unknown symbols. A low hum resonated through the floor, vibrating up his legs. "Hello?" Kale called softly. "Can you understand me?" A soft light flickered in response. A part of the wall shifted, revealing a small console with glowing buttons. Kyle approached carefully, touching a symbol that looked like a spiral. The console reacted instantly, projecting a holographic map of the surrounding desert. Lines and points shifted as he moved, showing hidden structures beneath the sand. Kale's eyes widened. This ship was not just old. It was advanced, beyond anything humans had built, and it had chosen to respond to him. He realized something important. The ship could understand his intentions, his curiosity, his patience, his respect. It was not responding to threats or greed. It was responding to him. Excitement surged through Kyle, but he knew he had to be careful. Any wrong move could damage the ship or trigger defenses he could not predict. He spent the next several hours experimenting with sounds, speaking gently and clearly. Each time he spoke, lights shimmered along the panels, doors opened, and small mechanisms shifted. By evening, Kyle had learned a few basic patterns. Simple words like open or help triggered responses. The ship's system seemed dormant for centuries, waiting for someone like him, someone curious, careful, and patient. Night fell and the desert cooled. Stars glittered overhead, and the silence was profound. Kale lay on the sand outside the ship, staring at the glowing panels inside. He felt a sense of wonder he had never known before. Here, in the middle of nowhere, he had found something truly extraordinary. "Tomorrow," he whispered, "we'll see how far you can go." The ship pulsed softly in response, almost like an agreement. Kyle smiled, feeling a strange connection, as if he had found not just a machine but a companion. As he drifted to sleep, he thought about the possibilities. What if this ship could fly again? What if it could take him beyond the desert, beyond the stars? The thought was thrilling and terrifying, but Kale had never been one to shy away from the unknown. The desert winds blew over the dunes, carrying the scent of metal and sand. And somewhere inside the half-buried wreck, the ship hummed quietly, listening to the human who had awakened it. Kale did not know what lay ahead, but he knew one thing clearly. His life had changed forever. The desert was no longer empty. It held a secret, a friend, and a journey that would take him further than he had ever dreamed. For the first time, Kale felt the truth of something he had always suspected. Humans were made for discovery, for challenges, for the unknown, and whatever lay ahead, he was ready. The night was silent, but the ship pulsed softly in the darkness, and Kale smiled, feeling a spark of hope, wonder, and courage that would carry him into a future he could not yet imagine. The next morning, Kale awoke before the sun. The desert was calm, the sand cool and soft under his bare feet. He hurried to the wreck, heart pounding with excitement. Last night he had felt a connection with the ship, but he didn't yet understand its full potential. Today, he hoped to learn more. The first thing he noticed was movement. Small panels on the ship shifted slightly, as if adjusting to his presence. A soft hum filled the air, low and steady, vibrating in time with his heartbeat. Kyle smiled. The ship remembered him. It had acknowledged his care, his patience. It was waiting. He stepped inside, brushing sand from the doorway. The interior glowed faintly, lights pulsing along the walls. Kyle ran his hands over the control panels. Each touch caused ripples of light, almost like the ship was breathing. He remembered the simple words he had tried yesterday, open, help, and decided to test something new. "Can you understand me?" he asked softly. A tone responded, clear and musical. It rose and fell in patterns that Kyle felt in his chest. He realized the ship was communicating through sound and light, forming a language of its own. Excited, he experimented. Speaking slowly, carefully. The ship's panels shifted, doors opened, and a small console rose from the floor. Kyle leaned closer. Symbols flickered on the console, forming shapes that seemed almost familiar. He traced them with his fingers, and the symbols changed in response. It was as if the ship was teaching him, waiting for him to understand its logic. Hours passed as Kale explored. He learned that certain tones activated movement, while specific sequences of words triggered holographic displays. One display projected a map of the desert, but it wasn't just showing the surface. Lines and dots indicated buried structures, hidden caves, and metal formations. Kale's eyes widened. This ship was not just old, it was powerful. Suddenly, a loud noise outside made him jump. The sand shifted as a group of scavengers approached, weapons in hand. Kale froze, realizing he had been too focused to notice them coming. "Well, well, Kale," one of them called, a tall man with sun-bleached hair. "Playing with toys again? Or is this your big discovery?" Kale took a deep breath, keeping calm. "I don't know yet," he replied. "But it's not for you." The scavengers laughed and spread out around the wreck. One tried to force open a panel, but Kale moved quickly. "Stop!" he shouted, waving his arms. The ship responded instantly. A panel slid shut, locking with a soft click. Lights along the hull brightened, bathing the desert in a pale blue glow. The scavengers froze. "What? What is that?" one whispered. Kale felt a surge of pride and relief. The ship was protecting him, not with weapons, but with presence, with intelligence. He realized something important. The ship could sense his intentions. It knew he meant no harm. Using this advantage, Kale spoke clearly. "Go away, or you'll regret it." The ship emitted a low tone, a deep vibration that filled the air. The scavengers took a step back, unnerved. They muttered to each other, confusion and fear in their voices. Kyle smiled. Humans were strong, but sometimes machines were stronger, especially when they chose to help. The scavengers left eventually, grumbling, but Kale did not relax. He knew they would return, and next time they might bring more people, or worse, weapons. He had to understand the ship before that happened. Kale returned inside. He focused on the console, experimenting with the symbols and tones. Gradually, he learned to combine gestures, speech, and sounds to make the ship respond in more complex ways. Panels shifted, doors opened to reveal storage compartments, and small mechanical arms emerged, moving with precise coordination. The ship projected a holographic display in front of him, showing the desert from above. Kyle traced his finger over it. Points of light marked locations that were invisible to the naked eye. Metallic formations, buried machines, even small structures that could hide supplies or technology. His excitement grew. This ship could change his life. But Kale knew the ship was more than a tool. It seemed to have a personality, subtle but undeniable. It responded differently depending on his tone, his patience, his intentions. When he was gentle, it reacted calmly. When he rushed or tried to force commands, the lights flickered and panels shivered as if warning him. Kale realized that patience, respect, and understanding were more important than force or aggression. Humans had strengths the ship didn't have: intuition, creativity, empathy. He could communicate with it not just as a machine, but as a partner. Hours passed, and the sun climbed higher. Kyle left the ship to explore the surrounding dunes, marking potential resources and hidden metal formations on his own map. Every time he returned, the ship reacted to his voice, lights pulsing in greeting. It was learning about him as much as he was learning about it. That evening, Kale decided to try something bold. He spoke slowly, clearly, using words he had only begun to understand. "Can you move?" he asked. A soft tone replied, followed by a gentle vibration under his feet. The panels along the ship's base shifted, and for the first time, he saw movement. Small mechanical legs emerged from the hull, gripping the sand. The ship rocked slightly, testing its balance. Kale's heart raced. "It's working," he whispered. "You can move." He spent the next hour experimenting carefully. The ship took small steps, adjusting its position in the sand. Kale guided it with his voice, and it responded precisely, almost eagerly. He realized the ship trusted him. It was not just responding to commands, it was learning, understanding, and cooperating. As night fell, the desert became quiet again. Stars glittered overhead, and Kyle sat outside the ship, leaning against its hull. He felt a bond with the machine, stronger than he could explain. For the first time, he understood that discovery was not just about finding things, it was about connection, understanding, and partnership. But danger was never far away. Kale knew the scavengers would return. He thought about the ship's abilities, its lights, its mechanical arms, its intelligence. If he could communicate better, if he could trust it completely, they might be able to defend themselves. Kyle lay back on the sand, gazing at the stars. He imagined distant worlds, alien cities, and machines older than humanity itself. And he imagined himself, not as a scavenger, but as a pioneer, standing at the threshold of something extraordinary. Sleep came slowly. Kale dreamed of glowing symbols, moving panels, and soft musical tones. He dreamed of flying above the desert, the stars stretching endlessly in all directions. And he felt a strange certainty. The ship had chosen him for a reason. When dawn arrived, Kale awoke to a soft hum. The ship's lights glowed faintly, and a panel shifted slightly, as if greeting him. He smiled. Today would be a day of progress. Today, he would learn more about his companion. Kyle spent the morning exploring the ship's storage compartments. He found tools, small containers of unknown substances, and a strange device that resembled a compass, but with moving holographic points instead of needles. He experimented with it, discovering that it responded to both his voice and touch. As he worked, he realized that the ship had hidden its true capabilities until now. It had waited for him to prove himself worthy, curious, patient, respectful, and now it was revealing itself. The scavengers did not return that day, but Kale was ready. He knew that one day soon they would come back, and he had to be prepared. He spent the afternoon guiding the ship through small maneuvers, learning how it balanced, how it adjusted to sand and uneven ground. He discovered that he could influence its movement subtly, suggesting paths and destinations rather than giving commands. The ship seemed to enjoy this collaboration, responding with gentle pulses of light and harmonious tones. As evening fell, Kyle climbed onto a dune to watch the sunset. The ship sat below him, panels glowing faintly, hum vibrating softly. He felt a sense of awe and humility. He was a human, small and fragile, yet he had awakened something ancient and powerful. And together, They could do something incredible. Kale spoke softly, almost to himself. "We'll go far," he said. "Beyond this desert, beyond the stars." The ship responded with a tone that seemed to echo hope, promise, and curiosity. Kyle smiled. He had never felt more alive, and somewhere deep inside the ship, mechanisms moved, lights shifted, and a hidden intelligence observed him. The partnership was forming, slowly but surely, and both human and machine were learning from each other. Kyle did not yet know the full story of the ship, its origin, its mission, or the dangers it held, but he felt certain of one thing. This discovery would change everything. The desert night was silent, but the ship hummed gently, alive and aware. And Kale, the human who had dared to speak to it, felt the first stirrings of a future he could not yet imagine, a future of adventure, discovery, and the extraordinary bond between a man and a machine. The desert was calm that morning, but Kale did not feel at ease. The hum of the ship beneath him was comforting, but the memory of the scavengers lingered. They would not give up. He knew they would return, and he had to be ready. Yet curiosity pushed him forward. The ship had already revealed so much, and he could feel there was more hidden inside it, secrets waiting to be uncovered. Kale climbed the sand dunes to get a better view of the horizon. From here, the wreck seemed even larger, a shining relic half buried in gold. He traced the faint glow of panels along the hull, imagining what lay beneath the sand. Then he turned back to the ship, and a thrill ran through him. It was waiting, patient, alive. He descended carefully, dust swirling around his boots, and stepped inside the ship. The interior glowed gently, the walls lined with symbols that shifted slightly when he moved. Kyle had begun to understand them, not fully, but enough to know that the ship was showing him more than just lights and tones. It wanted him to learn, to understand. Kale's fingers traced a set of symbols he had not seen before. As he did, a new holographic display appeared, projecting a three-dimensional model of a faraway star system. Planets rotated slowly, moons circling in precise paths. Lines connected different points, suggesting routes, travel paths, or something more complex. Kale's eyes widened. This is a map," he whispered. "Not just of this desert, but of the stars." The ship responded with a soft, harmonic tone. Panels along the walls pulsed in rhythm with the sound. Kyle realized that it was waiting for him to choose a destination, to understand its purpose. Slowly, he moved his hand over one of the points, a blue planet with swirling clouds, and a small section of the holographic display expanded, revealing intricate details. Alien structures, energy sources, and strange machines glowed softly on the planet's surface. Kyle felt a shiver of excitement. The ship was showing him history, technology, and maybe even life from other worlds. He had discovered something incredible, something humans had never seen before. But danger was never far. As Kale studied the holographic map, a noise outside startled him. The scavengers had returned, more numerous this time, moving carefully toward the wreck. Kale's pulse quickened. They had come prepared, with tools and crude weapons. He spoke softly, guiding the ship. "Get ready," he said. "We have to protect ourselves." The ship responded immediately. Panels shifted to block entrances, and a gentle hum filled the air, vibrating through the floor and walls. Kyle could feel the intelligence of the machine. It was aware of the threat, but it waited for his command. The scavengers tried to force their way in. One man swung a tool at a panel, but it shifted, sliding just out of reach. Another shouted, frustrated. Kale smiled slightly. Humans were strong, but sometimes strength was not enough. He guided the ship's movements carefully, instructing it with words, tones, and gestures he had learned. Doors closed, Lights flashed and small mechanical arms emerged, not as weapons, but as barriers to keep the scavengers at bay. The attackers could not reach him, and they began to retreat, muttering threats. Kale knew this was temporary, but it gave him time. He returned to the holographic map, focusing on the blue planet. The ship's lights shifted, pulsing gently, and a soft tone echoed in response. Kale realized that the ship was communicating through the map itself, showing him more than just locations. It was revealing a story. Structures on the planet's surface seemed to form patterns, designs that looked almost alive. Lines of energy flowed between buildings, connecting them like veins. Kale's mind raced. This was technology far beyond anything humans had created, and the ship had a reason for showing it to him. He traced the energy lines with his hand, and a hidden compartment opened beneath the console. Inside, he found a small device, glowing faintly with a soft blue light. When he picked it up, it pulsed warmly, as if recognizing his touch. Symbols appeared on the ship's panels, forming shapes he had not seen before. Kale realized that this device was a key of some kind, a tool to unlock more of the ship's secrets. He studied it carefully, turning it over in his hands, feeling the warmth and energy that flowed from it. The ship pulsed in response, acknowledging that he had found the key. Hours passed as Kale experimented. He combined the device with the holographic map, and the ship revealed even more: hidden compartments, storage bays, and energy cores buried deep within the desert. He felt a thrill of discovery. The ship was not just alive, it was guiding him, teaching him, revealing its knowledge piece by piece. By evening, Kale had uncovered a small storage area beneath the ship's hull. Inside were supplies, tools, and strange materials he could not identify. He realized that the ship had preserved these for someone worthy, someone who could understand and respect it. But Kyle knew that this was only the beginning. The scavengers were still out there, and they would not stop until they had claimed the ship for themselves. He had to be ready, and he had to learn more before they returned. Night fell over the desert, and Kale sat outside the ship, staring at the stars. He thought about the blue planet he had seen on the holographic map, about the energy patterns, the structures, and the technology. He felt a sense of awe and humility. Humans were small and fragile, yet they had the power to understand, to learn, to discover. Kale realized that the ship was teaching him something important. Patience, respect, and intelligence were more valuable than force. The ship's technology was incredible, but it required understanding, not brute strength. Kyle had both. Suddenly, the desert shifted. A storm was approaching, sand whipping into the air in thick clouds. Kale felt the urgency. He had to protect the ship. He guided it carefully, moving it into a small depression in the sand where it could anchor itself. The mechanical legs extended, gripping the ground, stabilizing the hull. The wind howled, but the ship remained steady, lights pulsing in rhythm with the storm. Kyle marveled at its resilience. This was not just a machine. It was alive, intelligent, and adaptable. He realized that humans and machines could achieve incredible things when they worked together. The storm lasted all night. Kyle stayed inside, speaking softly to the ship, guiding it, comforting it. The lights pulsed in response, and the hum filled the space with warmth and reassurance. By morning, the desert was calm again, and the ship had emerged unscathed. Kale felt a deep sense of pride and connection. He knew that this was only the beginning. The ship had secrets yet to reveal, worlds yet to explore, and challenges yet to face. And Kale, the human who had dared to speak to it, was ready. The next few days were filled with learning and discovery. Kyle experimented with the ship's controls, discovering energy sources, propulsion systems, and storage bays. He learned to communicate more effectively, using tones, gestures, and words in combination. The ship responded with increasing complexity, showing him maps, hidden locations, and even fragments of alien history. Cale realized that the ship had a mission, one that had been interrupted by the crash. It had traveled across the stars, carrying knowledge, technology, and perhaps even hope. And now, it had chosen him as its companion, its guide, and its friend. One evening, Cale discovered something extraordinary. A hidden compartment opened beneath the central console, revealing a small, crystalline sphere. When he touched it, the ship reacted immediately. Lights pulsed, tones echoed, and a holographic projection filled the room. It showed images of distant worlds, alien cities, and beings unlike anything Cale had imagined. The ship was showing him its past, its mission, and the universe it had seen. Cale felt a sense of awe and responsibility. He realized that humans had the potential to reach these worlds, to understand these civilizations, and to make a mark on the galaxy. But he also knew that danger was near. The scavengers would not stop, and other threats might await them beyond the desert. Cale had to be ready, and he had to trust the ship completely. He spoke softly to it, words full of respect and determination. "We'll face it together," he said. "Whatever comes next, we'll be ready." The ship pulsed in response, a harmonic tone that filled the room with warmth and assurance. Cale smiled. He had never felt more alive. He had discovered something extraordinary, and together they could achieve incredible things. As night fell over the desert, Cale sat outside the ship, gazing at the stars. He imagined distant worlds, alien civilizations, and adventures beyond the desert, and he knew, deep in his heart, that his life and humanity's future had changed forever. The desert was quiet, but the ship hummed gently, alive and aware. Cale felt the first stirrings of a future filled with discovery, courage, and the extraordinary bond between human and machine. And somewhere deep inside the ship, intelligence pulsed, waiting for the next step, ready to guide Cale into a journey that would take him far beyond the desert, and far beyond anything humanity had ever dreamed. The desert was quiet that morning, yet Cale felt a rush of energy. After weeks of discovery, learning, and testing, he finally understood that the ship was more than a machine. It was alive, intelligent, and ready. Together they had unlocked secrets hidden for centuries, and now the next step awaited them. Cale stood before the ship, examining its glowing panels. Each hum, each pulse, felt like a heartbeat, a steady rhythm connecting him to the ancient intelligence inside. He had learned patience, precision, and trust. Now, it was time to take the final step, awakening the ship fully. "Are you ready?" Cale asked softly, his hand hovering over the central console. The ship responded with a warm pulse, lights flickering in agreement. Cale smiled. He activated the main control sequence, a combination of voice commands, gestures, and the crystalline key he had found days before. Panels shifted, mechanisms moved, and a soft vibration filled the air. The ship seemed to breathe, drawing in energy from the desert sun and the crystals inside. Cale felt a thrill. The ship was alive, fully awake. It had waited for someone patient, someone careful, someone human. And now it had chosen him. Suddenly, the desert shook slightly. Sand rippled in waves, and Kyle's visor flickered. The scavengers had returned, more numerous and more determined. They had seen the ship's lights from miles away and had followed the trail. Cale's heart pounded. This would be the real test. He stepped forward, speaking firmly. "We won't let you take this," he said. "Go away." The ship responded instantly. Panels shifted, doors closed, and small mechanical arms extended along its hull. But Cale realized something incredible. He didn't need to fight. He could guide the ship, and it would act with him, not against him. He pressed a sequence of buttons, and the ship lifted slightly off the ground. Its legs retracted, panels aligned perfectly, and energy flowed along its hull, shimmering like liquid light. The scavengers froze in awe. They had expected a machine, a relic. Instead, they saw a living, breathing intelligence responding to a human. Kyle smiled. "Let's go," he said, and the ship pulsed in agreement. With a gentle hum, it rose higher, hovering above the desert sands. Wind swept around them, lifting dust and sand in golden spirals. The scavengers shouted in frustration, but there was nothing they could do. Kyle was not just a human, he was the pilot of something extraordinary. Once the ship stabilized, Kyle tested its systems. Controls responded to his voice and gestures, lights shifting to indicate power levels and navigation routes. He realized he could guide it with subtlety, not brute force. This intelligence was a partner, not a tool. "Where to first?" he asked. The ship pulsed, projecting the holographic map of the star system he had discovered earlier. The blue planet glowed softly, energy lines shimmering across its surface. Kyle traced a path, and the ship responded, aligning itself for launch. The desert below shrank as the ship lifted higher, the wind whipping past him. Kyle's heart raced with excitement and wonder. For the first time, he felt the full potential of humanity's curiosity and ingenuity. He had discovered, learned, and earned the trust of something far beyond human technology. As they rose above the planet, Kyle spoke to the ship. "I want to see the world below. I want to understand what you've seen, what you've carried." The ship responded with a harmonic tone, opening a view panel in front of him. The blue planet stretched out, oceans shimmering, clouds swirling, and structures glowing faintly beneath the surface. Energy lines connected cities and machines, flowing like veins across the land. Kyle's breath caught in his throat. "This is incredible," he whispered. "You've seen worlds I can only imagine." The ship pulsed softly, acknowledging him. Kyle realized that they were partners now. He could guide it, explore with it, and learn from it. And together, they could achieve something humans had never done before, reaching beyond their world, understanding alien civilizations, and perhaps even making a mark on the galaxy. Suddenly, an alert flashed on the console. Kyle focused, realizing it indicated movement near one of the energy nodes on the planet. Unknown ships, perhaps remnants of the alien civilization, were approaching. Kyle's heart raced, but he remained calm. The ship responded to his steady hand and voice, preparing defenses and adjusting energy shields. The alien vessels arrived, silent and sleek. But Kyle did not fear them. The ship and he had worked together, learned together, and grown together. He guided the ship closer, studying the vessels, observing their patterns. The aliens did not attack immediately. They seemed curious, cautious. Kyle smiled. Humanity had always been clever, adaptable, and resilient. He signaled the ship to approach slowly, displaying lights and symbols to communicate. The alien vessels responded in kind, shifting their colors and energy patterns. Kyle realized something astonishing. The ship was capable of not just travel, but diplomacy, connection, and understanding. Humans could learn, adapt, and form bonds with civilizations far beyond their own. Hours passed as Kyle and the ship navigated the alien fleet, studying, learning, and communicating. He realized that discovery was not just about machines or technology. It was about understanding, curiosity, and respect. And humanity had those qualities in abundance. As night fell on the blue planet, Kyle guided the ship to a safe landing site near one of the glowing cities. The structures were ancient, yet vibrant, and the energy lines hummed softly. He stepped onto the surface, feeling the alien world beneath his feet. The ship pulsed in acknowledgement, almost like a companion sharing his wonder. Kyle explored carefully, marveling at the technology and architecture. He found devices that recorded history, machines that stored knowledge, and energy sources that could power entire cities. Every step revealed more, and he realized the potential for humanity was immense. Suddenly, he found a chamber with a holographic display showing countless star systems, planets, and civilizations. The ship guided him, projecting translations and explanations. Kale understood that the alien civilization had traveled far, shared knowledge, and faced dangers unknown. And now, through the ship, that knowledge was accessible to him. Kale smiled. This was why the ship had chosen him. Humanity was small and fragile, but clever, adaptable, and curious. And together, human and ship could explore, learn, and protect the universe. Days passed as Kale studied the alien city, guided by the ship. He learned to harness energy sources, understand alien machines, and navigate star systems. Each discovery filled him with awe and confidence. He realized that humanity was capable of far more than he had ever imagined. One evening, Kyle returned to the ship and looked out at the desert world below. It seemed small, almost insignificant compared to the wonders he had discovered. Yet it had shaped him, taught him patience, courage, and ingenuity. The desert had been the beginning, but the stars were now within reach. "Are you ready?" Kale asked the ship. Its lights pulsed, and a harmonic tone filled the cockpit. He smiled. "Then let's go. Beyond the stars, beyond everything we know." The ship lifted effortlessly, rising above the planet, the alien city glowing beneath them. Kyle guided it toward the star system they had studied, excitement and wonder filling every part of him. For the first time, he felt the true power of discovery, partnership, and human potential. As they traveled through space, Kale reflected on his journey. He had started as a simple scavenger, alone in a harsh desert, driven by curiosity. Now he was a pioneer, a partner to an intelligent ancient machine, exploring worlds beyond imagination. Humanity had been tested, but it had shown resilience, intelligence, and courage. The ship pulsed, lights shifting and panels humming. Kyle understood that this bond was more than technology. It was trust, understanding, and respect. Humans had the power to awaken, guide, and learn from the universe around them. They approached a distant planet, its surface glittering with energy and life. Kyle guided the ship down, exploring cities, machines, and landscapes unlike anything humans had seen. He documented, learned, and marveled. Each step revealed more about the universe and more about humanity's potential. And somewhere in the cockpit, the ship pulsed in rhythm with Kyle's heartbeat, sharing its intelligence, history, and power. Together, they were unstoppable. As the sun rose over the distant horizon, Kale looked out at the stars, feeling pride, excitement, and hope. The universe was vast, full of challenges, mysteries, and wonders, but humans had curiosity, courage, and resilience. And with the ship by his side, Kale knew that humanity's place among the stars was just beginning. The desert world receded behind them, but Kale carried its lessons in his heart. Patience, courage, respect, and ingenuity had guided him this far, and they would guide him further. The ship pulsed once more, lights shimmering, and Kale smiled. The stars awaited, and humanity, through him, was ready. The ship hummed, alive and aware, ready to explore new worlds, face unknown challenges, and uncover the universe's secrets. And Kale, the human who had dared to speak to it, felt a sense of wonder, pride, and limitless possibility. Together they would go beyond the desert, beyond the stars, and beyond everything humans had ever imagined. The horizon stretched endlessly, filled with stars, mysteries, and hope. And for the first time, Kyle realized that discovery was not just about finding things. It was about connection, understanding, and the courage to step into the unknown. And so, human and ship traveled onward, companions in the vastness of space, ready to face whatever the universe had in store. Humanity had been tested, but it had risen. And now, its journey among the stars had truly begun.